Welcome back to the deep dive. We have a stack of sources on the desk today that, and I'll be honest right off the bat, might look a little unusual at first glance.
Unusual is putting it mildly. I think unexpected is probably the polite word for it.
Right. I mean, usually we're tearing into quarterly earnings reports or these heavy historical biographies or, those incredibly dense white papers on AI.
Mhm.
But today, the source material we're working with is a narrative text titled The Seashell Stargazers and the Magic of Tide-Tickle Bay.
And I can practically hear our listeners right now. They're probably checking their screens thinking, did I click the wrong episode? Is this the nursery rhyme hour?
No, don't tune out, because the mission for this deep dive is actually pretty rigorous. We're looking at this text not just as a story about talking mollusks,
Right.
but as a surprisingly complex case study in problem solving, group dynamics, and, believe it or not, hard science.
It's that classic thing, isn't it, where profound wisdom comes in these really unexpected packages. I mean, when you strip away the whimsical setting, this is really a masterclass on how to handle disappointment.
Yeah.
It gets into marine biology, astronomy, and it offers a framework for what we call cognitive reframing in psychology.
Cognitive reframing from a conch shell. I
Yeah.
love it. So let's set the parameters for this deep dive. We are going to track how this community handles a crisis.
Okay.
We're going to extract the actual scientific curriculum that's embedded in the story, specifically about bioluminescence and astrophysics, and then we'll break down the life lessons that the source explicitly outlines.
And the goal here is to see if we can apply those lessons to, adults or corporate teams or just anyone dealing with a foggy day in their own life. Because the physics of disappointment are the same, whether you have a shell or a suit.
Sounds like a plan. So let's drop into the setting. The source introduces us to Tide-Tickle Bay.
Tide-Tickle Bay. Sounds idyllic.
All right.
Oh,
It does. And the source sets the scene with this nightly ritual. You've got this group of diverse creatures gathering near the tide pools. They call themselves the Seashell Stargazers. And the text has this little detail that I think tells you everything about their social standing. It says they stay up past crab curfew.
which is such a great piece of world building.
Isn't it?
Yeah. It immediately establishes them as outliers. They're the night owls, the dreamers. They aren't just following the tidal rhythm like everyone else in the bay. They are rejecting the norm, the curfew, to pursue this intellectual passion.
The rebels with a cause. Okay, let's look at the personnel here, because the character profiles are really distinct archetypes. Who's leading this group?
Well, you have a few key players that really drive the narrative. First up, there's Sandy. She's a pink spiral shell.
Okay.
And her defining trait is this massive, seemingly impossible ambition. The source says she dreams of flying rockets.
Which is almost tragic in a way. I mean, she's literally a shell-heavy, calcified, bound to the ocean floor, and she's obsessed with vertical propulsion.
It creates this immediate tension between her reality and her aspiration. She represents, everyone who feels grounded but wants to launch. She's the visionary who's physically constrained,
Then we have Clappy.
the shy clam.
But he's not just shy. This source notes a very specific physical trait.
Ah.
He has glow-in-the-dark freckles.
And we should probably flag that for later. It seems like just a cute character design choice, like a cartoon detail, but it's Chekhov's gun for the story.
Yeah.
That biological capability becomes the absolute linchpin of the solution later on. It's a reminder that sometimes the things we're self-conscious about, like glowing freckles, are actually our superpowers.
And finally, the personality hire of the group.
Coral. Coral is fantastic. She's described as a sassy conch.
A sassy conch.
And the source gives her this backstory that just cracks me up. She insists, to anyone who will listen, that she once dated a sea star.
It's such a specific flex.
It is. It establishes her as the socialite of the reef. She's trying to bridge the gap between the ocean floor and the stars,
Yeah.
even if her version of a star is just an echinoderm on a rock. But it shows she's got high self-esteem. She sees herself as, adjacent to celebrity. She's the networker.
So you've got the dreamer, the introvert with hidden potential, and the bold leader. And they're all gathered for a very specific event. This isn't just a normal night.
No, the stakes are high. The text says they're waiting for the super-duper sparkle shimmer comet.
The hype cycle is in full swing.
Oh, absolutely. And the narrative uses a countdown. 10, 9, 8. The anticipation is peaked. They've invested their time, their energy, their emotional well-being into this single external event.
And that's where the trap is, isn't it? Relying entirely on external circumstances for your joy, because what happens at zero?
Disaster. Or meteorologically speaking, fog.
A thick fog rolls in. The source emphasizes how total it is. We can't see anything.
And this is the inciting incident. This is where the story shifts from, a cute story to a study in behavioral psychology. Because the comet is gone, or at least hidden. The external reward is gone. Now we get to see how different personalities react to adversity.
It's a stress test. Let's look at Sandy first. The rocket enthusiast.
Sandy crashes hard. She pouts. She delivers this line, "This was going to be the highlight of my spiral life."
Spiral life. I do appreciate the commitment to the pun.
It's good, but look at the emotion. It's devastation. She had anchored her entire identity for the night on this one visual experience. And when it's taken away, she feels personally robbed. This is the victim mindset reaction to a problem.
Then you have Clappy, the clam.
Clappy takes the path of resignation. He just sighs and suggests they all go back in our shells.
Which is literal for him, but metaphorically, that is a very common human reaction. Retreat, isolate.
Right.
The world is disappointing, so I'm just going to close the shutters.
Exactly. It's risk aversion.
Yeah.
If I don't try to see the stars, I can't be disappointed by the fog. So let's just shut down. It's the flight response in fight or flight.
But Coral doesn't accept that binary choice of see the comet or go to bed.
No, she just shouts never.
Yeah.
She rejects the premise that the environment dictates their experience, and she proposes a third option. She says, let's bring the stars to us.
That is the pivot point of this whole deep dive. Let's bring the stars to us.
It's a radical shift in agency. Sandy and Clappy are passive observers of the universe. They're consumers of the night sky. Coral decides to become a producer.
A producer, yeah.
She realizes that if the external supply of wonder has been cut off, well, they have to manufacture it locally.
Okay, let's talk about that manufacturing process.
Right.
Because they don't just use their imaginations, they don't just close their eyes and pretend. They effectively execute a complex engineering project using biological resources.
They do. It's biomimicry and logistics. It's basically a project management case study.
So the source breaks it down. 3 components for their artificial galaxy. Step 1, the structural layout.
For that, they recruit glowfish. The text says they ask the glowfish to swim in specific star shapes.
Think about the management challenge there. I mean, herding fish is proverbially impossible, and she's getting them to form constellations.
It's about utilizing the local workforce. She's taking a chaotic resource swimming fish and imposing order on it to create structure. That's organizational leadership.
Okay, so step 2, the illumination.
This is my favorite part. They need raw lumens. So the text says they borrow bioluminescent plankton, but, and I love this detail, they source it from a passing jellyfish band.
A jellyfish band.
Yes, which implies this plankton was part of, like a traveling performance or something. But scientifically, referencing plankton is key. That's the fuel. That's the energy source.
And step 3, you need ambience.
But you need reflected light to create the glow, so they convince a sleepy moon snail to polish its shell and bounce some moonlight their way.
So let's recap the architecture here. They have the light source, the plankton, the framework, which is the glowfish, and the reflector, the moon snail.
It's a complete ecosystem. They've built a system. And the result, according to the text, is an underwater glow with bubble constellations and sparkly sand art.
It honestly sounds better than the real sky.
And that is exactly what Clappy says. The clam who wanted to quit. He just gasps and says, "This is better than the real sky."
So why is it better? Is it just because it's closer?
I think it's the IKEA effect.
Yeah.
You know that psychological concept where you value something more because you built it yourself?
Right. That wobbly table means more to you because you were the one who turned the Allen wrench.
Exactly. They didn't just watch a comet, they built a galaxy. The agency, the effort, the collaboration that infuse the experience with a meaning that passive viewing never could have had. They own this view.
Now, the source material does something really interesting here. It pauses the narrative to do a science fun breakdown. It pivots from the fiction to the facts.
Which is great, because the story is built on real biology. The text explicitly defined bioluminescence.
How does it explain it?
It defines it as a real natural glow made by ocean creatures like plankton and jellyfish. It grounds the magic. It's not fairy dust, it's biochemistry.
I looked into this a little for the deep dive.
Yeah.
The text mentions the creatures, but the underlying process is fascinating. It's usually a chemical reaction involving a molecule called luciferin and an enzyme, luciferase.
Right. It's cold light. That's the key distinction. It generates very little heat, unlike an incandescent bulb or, well, a star. It's efficient.
And that leads to the second part of the science breakdown, Astronomy 101. The source uses the shell's obsession with space to teach us what stars actually are.
And it doesn't dumb it down as much as you'd think. It defines stars as giant balls of hot gas. But then it lists the specific elements, hydrogen and helium.
I was surprised to see the periodic table making an appearance in a story about a sassy conch.
Well, it respects the intelligence of the audience. And it's setting up a contrast. The stars up there, hydrogen and helium burning hot, nuclear fusion. The stars down here, plankton and chemistry burning cold.
Two different ways to make light.
Exactly. Macro and micro.
The text also covers comets. It calls them icy space travelers.
And it explains the tale. It says they glow because they're nearing the sun. It's touching on the concept of sublimation, where that ice turns directly into gas, creating the tail. So the reader walks away understanding why the comet looks the way it does.
It's a really clever synthesis. The author is using ocean science to simulate the space science.
It bridges the two worlds, inner space and outer space. Both are dark voids populated by points of light. The story suggests that if you understand one, you can understand the other.
So, back to the beach. The fake sky is up. Everyone is enchanted. Clappy is happy. They've successfully reframed their disappointment.
And then the universe decides to chime in.
The climax, whoosh, the clouds part.
Perfect comedic timing.
The real comet zips by. The source describes it as painting the sky in rainbow sparkles.
So now they have an abundance of riches. They have the artificial wonder they engineered and the natural wonder they were waiting for.
And this leads to Sandy's big realization, and I think this line is the core philosophy of the entire text. She squeals, "We made our own magic and the universe showed up anyway."
We made our own magic and the universe showed up anyway. It is such a heavy line.
Break that down for me. Why does that matter so much?
Well, it matters because it detaches the effort from the outcome. Usually we think, if the comet comes, I'll be happy. If it doesn't, I'll be sad.
Right.
Sandy's saying, we made ourselves happy regardless of the comet. The fact that the comet eventually showed up is just a bonus. It's the cherry on top, not the sundae itself.
If they had just sat there and waited and the clouds parted, they would have seen the comet, but they would have missed the whole bonding experience.
And they would spend 2 hours being miserable. By taking action, they reclaim that time. They turn the waiting room into a workshop.
Which leads us directly into the life lessons section of the source. The text explicitly itemizes the takeaways, and I want to go through these because they apply to a lot more than just tide pools.
Let's do it.
Okay, lesson 1. When something gets in the way, don't give up. Get creative.
That's Resilience 101. But it emphasizes the creative aspect. It's not just endure the pain. It's hack the problem. The fog was an obstacle, but Coral treated it as a design constraint. She engineered around it.
It's lateral thinking. If I can't look up, I'll look down.
Exactly.
Lesson 2. You don't have to wait for magic. Sometimes you make it yourself.
This is all about the locus of control. Waiting for magic puts the power outside of you. It puts it in the hands of the weather or the economy or your boss,
Right.
Making it yourself internalizes that power. It's a call to proactive living.
And the third lesson. Even the smallest shells can light up the darkest nights.
And this is the inclusion piece. Remember Clappy? He felt small and wanted to hide, but his freckles, his unique glow, were essential to the solution. It's a reminder that in a crisis, everyone has a resource to contribute, even if it's just a little bit of bioluminescence.
Collective efficacy. The group is brighter than the individual.
Precisely. No single shell could make a constellation. It required the swarm.
Yeah. Now, usually stories like this would end when the sun comes up, everyone goes home, lesson learned. But the source material includes an aftermath section called Legacy.
Which I think is the most important part. It shows this wasn't just a one-night stand with science. It actually changed the culture of the Bay.
The text says the Stargazers evolved. They went from being watchers to makers of wonder.
That's a fundamental identity shift. They aren't just fans of astronomy anymore. They're practitioners of light.
And they institutionalize it. They establish the Tide Time-Space School.
I love the idea of a space school underwater. It's just delightfully absurd.
And look at the student body listed in the source. Fish, crabs, and sea cucumbers.
Sea cucumbers are, biologically speaking, not the most complex thinkers. They're basically digestive tubes. So this is a very accessible university. It's open enrollment.
And the curriculum, it isn't just how to swim. They're teaching how stars are born and what a comet's tail is made of. They're passing on that hard science, the hydrogen, the helium, the sublimation.
But they combine it with the philosophy. The source says they also teach that even when skies are cloudy, you can still shine from below.
Shine from below. That is such a sticky phrase.
It is. It's the school motto. It connects the literal science, the bottom-dwelling bioluminescence, with metaphorical resilience. It teaches the next generation that your position in life, even if it's at the bottom of the ocean, doesn't prevent you from being a source of light.
It's holistic education. Facts and feelings.
Which is the best kind.
So the source material wraps up with this interactive segment. It breaks the fourth wall. Sandy turns to the reader, or in our case, you, the listener, and asks some direct questions.
I love when a source does that. Asks, what about you? It forces you to apply the logic.
She asks, what would your underwater stargazing club look like?
So it challenges you to visualize your own community. Who are your glowfish? Who is your moon snail?
Then she gets more whimsical. She asks, would you ride sea turtles to the moon?
Which, physics-wise is a nightmare. But conceptually, it's about breaking boundaries. Why not ride a turtle? It's urging you to think big.
And would you paint constellations in coral?
Mixing medium and message, it's artistic expression.
Finally, she asks the audience to draw your dream shell friends and make up your own sea constellation.
And that's the final step of learning, creation. It moves you from consuming the story to adding to it, just like the shells move from watching the sky to building it.
So we've unpacked a lot here. We've gone from a nursery rhyme setting to thermal physics, supply chain management of jellyfish.
And the psychology of disappointment.
Right. It really validates the whole premise of this show. You can find complex systems anywhere. This story effectively teaches that hydrogen is a key component of stars, while simultaneously teaching a child or a CEO that a foggy day isn't the end of the project. It's just an invitation to pivot.
It's that dual layering. You walk away smarter about space and maybe a little more resilient.
And you have a new respect for clams.
Especially the ones with glow-in-the-dark freckles. Never underestimate them.
Never.
The MVP.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Tide-Tickle Bay, I want to leave you with a thought to mull over. We talked about how Coral refused to accept the darkness. She looked around at what she had. Some fish, some plankton, a snail, and she built a galaxy.
She used local resources to solve a global problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So here's the question for you today. If a shy clam and a sassy conch can construct a universe out of bubbles and bugs when the lights go out, what resources are sitting right in front of you that you're ignoring?
That's the question.
What's your plankton? What's your moon snail? What raw materials do you have within arm's reach right now that could help you create your own light, even if the comet you were waiting for never shows up?
Sometimes the materials for a miracle are right there in front of you. You just have to arrange them into a star shape.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for listening to this deep dive. Go make some magic.
See you next time.